the most recent piece of gear that I got, it's off screen here, but I'll send you some pictures.
Yeah.
It's a 1966 Vox AC50.
Yeah.
So the story behind this is that I've been looking so for those who don't know, I'm Canadian, but I live in Belgium. It has to do with work. I'm not going to get into what it is, but I've been here for 3 years, and it's been my dream for a long time to get like a vintage Vox. And I think it was at the beginning of this year. So in January, I did this big video, like 20 minutes long, all about like the history of Vox from the 1960s. And I bought a Kemper pack from the guys over at Tone Junkie TV. And what I did is basically, because I couldn't get my hand on all the vintage Vox, I just bought their profiles because they pretty much had every single one of them. And the one that really stuck out to me was the AC50.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, I thought originally that I wanted a Vox AC30. I was like, maybe I should look for the AC50 because they're far more affordable. And I've been on the lookout since basically January. So last week, this thing came up. So I'm pointing at the cab here in the head off screen.
Yeah, I'm currently looking at one because I wanted to. I was Googling it at the same time to find some images. And so you found the head? It's like a half stack, right? Kind of.
Yeah, it's the head, the cab, and the trolley that comes with it. So it's
wow.
It's a complete kit. Okay.
Wow.
So basically, I get up. It must have been like 6:30 in the morning. I open up Facebook, and I'm always on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
And I see this thing, like the AC50 for €1,000.
Found it. I found the one that you're talking about. The head and the trolley, and it's kind of the cabinet's kind of hanging in the trolley, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost fly. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I find this thing for €1,000, the head and the cab. And the gentleman who was selling this was like, well, the cab doesn't work anymore. So I'm basically giving it to you with the head.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, let's see if I can figure this out, right? So I try it out, but this guy was deaf, okay? So,
wow. Okay.
So he plugged me into the Brilliant channel, and he had it so trebly, I thought my ears would bleed. And he's like, shit. It sounds really good and smooth, but there's no top end. And I'm like, what? There's no top end? I'm like, my ears are ringing. I'm like, okay, this guy's like, his hearing is completely shot. So I grabbed this for $1,000, brought it home, but the speakers that were in there were not the originals. So I did a bit of research. One of them was, I believe it's called RCF. They used to be an Italian maker of speakers, kind of like Jensen.
They still are. But they now make pro audio stuff. So they make like active stage monitors and that kind of stuff. So they still exist.
They still exist. They just not concentrating on this, I guess. So there was one of those, and there was a purple speaker in there that I was pretty sure I had seen before. And the one that's in here, I believe, is from probably a Fender Twin from the 1970s. But the whole wiring was shot. Like, it was like, the guy that did it didn't really know what he was doing. So there was like no current going through. So that's where I got in touch with you earlier this week or last week. And I said, how do I wire this up? Like, I've never done this.
Right. Yeah.
So I had like 8 ohm speakers and 16 ohm speakers, and I was going to like mix them together. But like, I wasn't like, I'm not an engineer or even technician for that matter. I'm just some dumb musician trying to put his shit together. So I asked you about this, and you said, this is how you wire it. 2 16 ohms, you put them in, what was it, parallel?
It's parallel, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And now it sounds great. So I have a 70th anniversary Celestion and a greenback.
It's a great speaker, yeah.
I am happy because this thing sounds, it's killer. Like, it sounds good. Like, really good.
Nice. Okay.
So that's my
Congratulations.
story.
Yeah, I'm currently looking at like some images from like voxshowroom.com.
Yep.
And I mean, a 30 watt Vox is already like shatteringly loud. I like 50 watts has to be absolutely terrifying.
It is, but here's the thing though. This head, it's one of the first Vox amps that I've ever tried where if you put it at what we would call like bedroom level, it still sounds good. Like, it doesn't sound
Interesting.
weak and thin. The only other amp I've ever played that did that is the Angle Fireball. So
Okay,
the,
yeah, but yeah, okay, okay.
Okay.
But the Angle, a lot of these Angle amps have there's a thing with Angle where all the sound gets created in the preamp, and then you just make just increase
Louder.
the signal.
Yeah.
It's what a lot of modern amps are made. Like everything happens in the preamp, and unlike with amplifiers with like older amplifiers, the traditional amplifiers, where you need to crank them up to really get into the sweet spot kind of
Yeah.
level. These newer amps, they work like that. So with Engel, I could imagine that, and it's interesting that the AC50 does it as well.
Yeah, it does it as well. I'm not sure why it is, but the information that I got both from the Vox showroom, and there's another site that's dedicated to the Vox AC50. I think it's like voxac50.org or something like that.
Yeah.
And anyways, they have like a ton of information on these amps. So the one I have here is the version 3. So
Okay.
basically the difference between the different versions is just small tweaks that they did to the circuit, because guys were bringing them out on the road and sometimes they had like issues with them. So they were modifying them as they were going. So in the span of like 2 years, I think there were like 3 versions of this amp. The version 2 has a tube rectifier, and this one is a what was it again?
They say they replaced the tube rectifier in the Mark III version. They replaced the tube rectifier with a diode bridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes sense. And that would explain what you said, the phenomenon you explained, where even at bedroom level it sounds great. Other amps with a diode bridge would do the same thing. So
yeah. So yeah, and the other thing that's really particular about this one is that the normal channel and the brilliant channel, they are like worlds apart. Like they sound nothing alike. So if you go from the normal channel is a little darker, rounder, a bit more like Fender-ish. And as soon as you go to the brilliant channel, it sounds like a AC30 on steroids, which is completely different. I haven't had a chance to boost this thing up because it's just a master volume, right? So you just crank it up to get the distortion, but I mean, it's 50 watts. I don't even know how many dBs come out of here, but it's got to be a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to attempt it. So I just use it basically as a pedal platform, and it does it like really well because there's a lot of high headroom with this amp. And I've noticed that when I try different pedals, they don't sound the same as with lower wattage. I got to find out that the Tim V3 has a blend of the clean signal along with the distortion, and I never heard that with lower wattage amps.
No, you normally don't do that. Yeah, you normally won't hear that. It's true. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so pedals are reacting very differently through this amplifier than they do with the other amps that I'm used to. So yeah, all in all, I'm like tickled to death that I could find this thing for this price, because there's another guy here selling one from the same year, and he's asking $3,000.
Oh, shit.
So I'm like, I paid $1,000. Yeah, that's pretty good. So yeah, just on the lookout for other Vox amp at this point. So, but I'm really happy with this one. Like, this is a dream amp for me.